Hi students, welcome to lesson number 25, Problems of Religious Minorities in India. A brief introduction about the lesson. India is generally regarded as the spiritual and the religious capital of the world due to the presence of diverse faith and unbroken traditions. Unlike the West, religion in India is not a completely private affair. Even law permits certain degree of religious freedom to every citizen of India. As a result, religion and public life are not strictly separated. It sometimes creates frictions also as old rules come into conflict with the new rules. To promote religious harmony and to provide all religion an equal space in the democratic framework, India also accords special status to some religious minorities to protect and promote their interest. The objectives of the lesson: the students will be able to understand first the problems faced by various minorities in India, and they will also be made aware of the various constitutional measures and government initiatives meant for the minorities. The religious communities in India. India is home to some of the world's older religions like Hinduism, Jainism and Buddhism, and also to hundreds of sects and cults. Christianity arrived in India in the 1st century itself when Saint Thomas came to India. He was one of the original 12 apostles of the Christ. Islam came to India in and around 650 AD. Similarly, Zoroastrians of Parsis came to India when Persia was invaded by the Muslims. While Muslims and Christians swelled in their number due to their open outlook, Parsis and Jews remained a closed community and remained limited in numbers. As per 2011 census, Hindus constitute the largest religious community in India with more than 80% share in population, followed by Muslim with 14% share. Other communities are Sikhs, Buddhists, Parsis, Christians, Jews, etc. Christians are mainly concentrated in northeastern and southern states. Buddhists, who were once influential throughout North India, are now confined to Ladakh, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Darjeeling and Maharashtra. Different religious communities in India have different cultures and features. Some of them are also declared as minority groups, and government take active steps to ameliorate their position. Some, like Parsis, are considered very enterprising and they have significant representation in the industrial sector. Parsis also suffer from certain problems of their own, like dwelling numbers. Similarly, Muslims also have their own problems which were highlighted by a Sachar committee as well. Material well-being of different communities also differ greatly. Minority religions except Muslims are generally educationally more forward. According to Yogendra Singh, great tradition of Islam is founded on the world view which is non-hierarchical and monotheistic. Unlike Hinduism, Islam is proselytizing. It also has element of egalitarianism and fraternity as it preaches a casteless society, and all Muslims are treated as equal. It saw a great decline during the British rule, and Muslims in India still suffer from historical inequalities and conservative biases. Over the years, continuous coexistence has also led to cultural exchanges. Islam is highly influenced by Sikhism and Bhakti movement of Hinduism. Islam impacted Indian culture in a big way, and Sufi tradition, Hindustani music and architecture styles are lasting contribution of Islam. Similarly, Hinduism also evolved in various sects. The Lingayat sect is highly influenced by Christians' beliefs. The diversity of religious communities sometimes also poses a threat to national integration in the form of communalism. India is still a very traditional society, and secular nationalism is still to emerge stronger over cultural identities rooted in religion. There are also other issues like lack of consensus over the question of having a uniform civil code, superstition and growth of spurious sects. Now, we will discuss the various problems faced by religious minorities in India. India has numerous ethnic and religious groups of various sizes. Constitution of India also makes a distinction between majority and minority groups, but doesn't define them. Minorities are of two types. First, linguistic and religious minorities. Religious minorities are 6 in number: Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis and Jains. Jains are the latest addition in 2014. A religious community is declared minority not on the basis of its absolute number, but on the basis of other factors like their threat perception, cultural development and development level. Recognition and protection of minority rights under a legal framework has two objectives. First, to prevent the state from being oppressive against the minorities, as in a democratic setup, government is run by the majority. Second, to provide the minority a protective zone where they can preserve their separate identity while contributing to national development and progress. Many problems of the minorities stem from the fact that in a democratic system where leaders are elected on the basis of majority vote, they are left politically vulnerable as they become dependent on majority which comes to power. The problems faced are as follows. First, it is a problem of identity. Because of the differences in socio-cultural practices, history and backgrounds, minorities have to grapple with the issue of identity. This gives rise to the problem of adjustment with the majority community. Second problem is the problem of security. Different identity and their small number relative to the rest of the society develop feeling of insecurity about their life, assets and well-being. The sense of insecurity may get accentuated at times when relations between the majority and the minority communities in a society are strained or not much cordial. Third, it is a problem relating to equity. The minority community in a society may remain deprived of the benefit of opportunities of development as a result of discrimination. Because of the difference in identity, the minority community develops the perception of the sense of inequity. Fourth problem is a problem of communal tensions and rights. Communal tensions and rights have been incessantly increasing since independence. Whenever the communal tensions and rights takes place for whatever reason, minority interest gets threatened. Fifth, lack of representation in civil service and politics. The Constitution provides for equality and equal opportunities to all its citizens, including the religious minorities. The biggest minority community, that is Muslim, have a feeling among them that they are neglected. However, such a feeling does not seem to exist among the other religious minority communities, such as the Christians, Sikhs, Jains and Buddhists, for they seem to be economically and educationally better than the majority community. Sixth point, it is the failure to stick on strictly to secularism. India has declared itself a secular country. The very spirit of our constitution is secular, but in actual practice there is lack of commitment to secularism. Purely religious issues are often politicized by these parties. The problems of the minorities can be further classified as the common problems and their specific problems. Now we will discuss some of the common economic and cultural problems faced by all the minorities. The first one, it is, despite the notification, the social relationship between the majority and the minority have not changed, and as a result, suspicion still prevails. Relations are still less harmonious and minorities feel a threat to their identity. Secondly, their representation in public jobs, armed forces still remain low. Third, the threat perceptions after a series of riots in the past few decades have led to physical insecurity also. Fourth, due to historical factors and despite the enactment of suitable laws, psychological insecurity is still there and it often proves detrimental to actual well-being. This was also identified by our earlier leaders. Nehru said, "Test of Indian secularism lays not in what majority thought, but how minority feels." Fifth, Indian Education Commission of the 1960s has also highlighted language-related problem that minorities face. Many minority institutions like madrasas are still not modernized and their degrees are often not accepted as essential qualifications. Now, we will discuss the specific problems of the various religious minorities. First, Muslims have lagged behind a great deal in human development parameters. Their representations in public employment is poor and in armed forces it is abysmal. Sachar Committee of 2006 has highlighted that Muslims in India suffer from threefold problems such as problem of identity, security and equity. It's found that Muslims have the highest incidence of stunt children and 25% of children have never been to school. Though Muslims are 14% of the population as per 2011 census, their representation in post-graduated course is only 2%. The share of Muslims in armed forces is only 4%. And only 27% of Muslims in urban areas are in regular employment. Muslim population also suffered stereotyping in India and the world due to the spread of Islamic fundamentalism globally. Ghettoization is another characteristic of Indian Muslim population, which is a result of a multiplicity of factors including two nation theory. Nation theory, communal conflicts, politics and backwardness. Second, Christian minorities groups also face identity problem in many areas. Religious conversion have assumed a very sensitive form in India and missionaries are often alleged of forced conversions and are subjected to attacks. The brutal murder of Christian missionary Gramstein by a fanatic is such an example. A Lucknow study showed after independence, Christians of that city had the lowest per capita income of the 10 communities. Reservation provisions areas also non-uniformity applied across the religious groups. For example, there is scheduled caste reservations for the converted Buddhists and Sikhs, but not for Dalit Christians. Third, sex ratio among Sikhs is poor despite relatively high affluence of the community. Their relations also became strained with the majority in the wake of events related to Khalistan movement, Operation Blue Star, and the consequent assassination of Indira Gandhi and ensuing communal violence. Parsis or Zoroastrians have their own peculiar problems. They are the most affluent minority community in India, but their numbers are dwindling. The 2011 census found that the Parsis population has declined by 18% to 57,264 in a decade. Total population of India increased by around 17.64%. Socially, they are well off with the literacy rate of 97.9% and a sex ratio of 1050 as per 2011 census. This is highly inward looking group with a prohibition on entry to the community and migrations are big contributors and no permission for exogamy. Moreover, the Parsis in Assam, Bengal and Bihar are a minority, but they control trade and business in these states. They are treated as outsiders and exploiters. Sons of the Soil movement have been reported in Assam, Bengal, Orissa and Karnataka, and subsequently Parsis were looted, killed in Bolangir, that is in Orissa. According to Roy and Unisa, childlessness and migration are big contributors to their dwindling numbers. Anthropologists have also found that due to high inbreeding, they are also facing genetic issues. Ignoring minority problem can have dangerous consequences. An apt example was witnessed in our own neighborhood when Bangladesh was formed in 1971 as the then Pakistan neglected the problems of its eastern brethren. Brutal violence in Sri Lanka a few years back is another example. Frustrated youth of minority group can also turn into other immoral activities. Constitution of India. Constitution of India used the term minorities at two places under Article 29 and 30 and provides them the right to promote and preserve their culture and set up their educational institutions. 5-year plan also had special provisions for their welfare. To focus on their development needs, 90 minority concentration districts have been identified. For specific problems, government has launched many schemes and campaigns. Multi-sectoral development program was launched in 2008 to bridge the development deficits faced by minorities through creation of socio-economic infrastructure to give them basic amenities. Acting on the reports of Sachar Committee, the government also planned to set up an Equal Opportunity Commission in 2014, but it is still waiting for legislative clearance. To arrest the dwindling population of Parsis, Geo-Parsi was launched in 2013-14. Nai Roshni scheme for leadership development among the minority women. Upgrading the skills and training in traditional arts, crafts for development was launched in 2015 for promoting traditional skills among the artisans of the minority groups. Article 51A, which is of special relevance for the minorities, talks about citizen duty to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic and regional and sectional diversities. Citizen duty to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. Now, we will discuss about the various government initiatives meant for minorities' benefit. The government has taken various steps to improve socio-economic and educational status of minority communities. The first government initiative was Prime Minister's new 15-point program, which is meant for the welfare of minorities, which is an overreaching program covering various schemes and initiatives of different ministries and departments. It is an earmarking of 15% of targets and outlays for the minorities or specific monitoring of flow of benefits and funds to minorities or areas with substantial minority population. The program is being implemented with the objective of enhancing opportunities for education of minorities. It also ensures equitable share for minorities in economic activities and employment. It also helps in improving the condition of living of minorities and also preventing and controlling the communal disharmony. The second major program was National Commission for Minorities, which was set up by the Union Government of India in 1992 to protect the existence of minorities all over India. The third major program was Ustad, which means the scheme which aims at upgrading skills and training in preservation of traditional ancestral arts and crafts of minorities. The fourth initiative was Hamari Dharohar, where the scheme aims to preserve rich heritage of minority communities in context of Indian culture. The fifth initiative was the Khwaja Garib Nawaz Senior Secondary School, which will be established at Ajmer by Maulana Azad Educational Foundation to give a fillip to minority education. The sixth initiative, Nai Manzil, which is a bridge course to bridge the academic and skill development gaps of the Dini madrasas passed out with their mainstream counterparts. Seventh initiative, strengthening of state Waqf boards. The scheme envisages to provide assistance for meeting the training and administrative cost of state Waqf boards. and the removal of encroachment from waqf properties and also strengthening of zonal regional offices of waqf boards. 8th, Nai Roshni. This scheme is envisaged to reach out to women through non-governmental organization who will be provided with financial support by conducting leadership development trainings so that women are empowered and emboldened to move out of the confines of home and community. 9th initiative, it is the Minority Cyber Gram. The MCG program seeks to introduce digital literacy skills in identified minority clusters in India, where through designated digital fellows towards knowledge empowerment and entitlement gains of minority focused groups and beneficiaries. To summarize, only a coalition of the suppressed castes, classes and gender across religion can overcome communalism, and the struggle for secularization has to go along with the resistance to the majoritarian attempt to equate majority and minority communalism. The courage and the cycle of communal hatred and violence can be stopped only by ending first the history of false equivalences and selective silences.